When I began my research for this project, I had every intention of focusing on competency-based education. CBE caught my attention a few years ago, and I was excited about this opportunity to expand my knowledge of the subject. Competency-based education is defined as a learning-based system that awards students with credits once they demonstrate mastery of content in academic courses or through accredited out-of-school experiences. Students are awarded for credit for the course after they have demonstrated their proficiency in a subject, which ensures the competency of a student. Competency-based education is hopefully a way to prevent so many students from needing to take remedial courses, also known as developmental education. Remedial courses are required of students who do not meet standardized testing benchmark scores in staple subjects such as math and English. McAbee asserts that 59% of high school graduates attend college. Only 42% are prepared for college work, while 58% are not prepared or do not enter post-secondary education at all. Developmental courses are not only delaying a student's progress through their degree, since they have to take extra courses that they do not get credit for, but costing students an estimated $2.9 billion each year. With the number of students who require remedial work so high, one begs the question of why. Why are so many graduating high school unprepared for college? Aren't we making sure our students understand high school level work before we award them a diploma that says they do? It wasn't long before my research directed me to the Carnegie unit. Our current measurement of learning credit is based on a 120-hour system that is deeply rooted in American education. This system gives credit based on time spent in a classroom rather than proven knowledge of a subject. In the early 1900s, Andrew Carnegie became one of the richest men in the world off of steel production. Education became one of his philanthropic undertakings. In 1905, he created the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching to run a pension system for professors. He sent a $10 million check to the foundation's trustees, led by Harvard President Charles Eliot, to begin that system. This turned out to be a bit more difficult than anticipated. At that time, American education was still heavily dominated by the elite and very unorganized. Colleges are not clearly defined and sometimes difficult to distinguish from a high school. Indeed, some of the colleges required merely elementary requirements of staple subjects. Therefore, in order to determine who was eligible to benefit from this system and what makes a college must be defined. The Carnegie Foundation set to work to lay out guidelines for admissions to college, such as 4 years of high school. However, high schools were also not clearly defined at that time. So the foundation trustees had to work backwards and establish guidelines for high school graduation. They worked with New York State Board of Regents, who had recently produced standards of high school graduation based on blocks of instruction that was 10 weeks of study, 5 days a week. They also collaborated with the College Entrance Examination Board and the National Education Association's Committee of 10 to determine that high school curriculum include 4 years of English, a foreign language, and 3 years of history, science, and mathematics. They created testing for college admissions in a variety of subjects as well. The colleges themselves were required to have at least 6 full-time college professors and require at least 4 years of liberal arts and sciences for their bachelor's degrees. These units were used to determine entrance requirements. A course of 5 weekly periods throughout an academic year, or 24 weeks, equates to 1 unit, roughly 120 hours. 14 of these units were required for college admissions at that time. It is important to note that the Carnegie unit was never meant to measure a student's knowledge, but to gauge the amount of time instructors spent teaching. Nevertheless, colleges raced to meet the requirements to be able to participate in the pension system. Soon, colleges and high schools alike were restructured under the Carnegie unit. For their purpose, colleges adopted a version of the Carnegie unit that we still use today. 3 contact hours per week over 15 weeks is equal to 3 credit hours. The required 120 credit hours to complete a bachelor's degree became the norm. Not only was the Carnegie unit used to measure a student's potential degree, it became a common metric administratively as well. The Carnegie unit was used to compute building efficiency, federal aid, and even distribute faculty workload. Thus, the Carnegie unit became deeply rooted in every aspect of American education. As mentioned before, the Carnegie unit was meant as a way to account for instructional time and to organize an extremely unorganized American education system. The Carnegie Foundation are among the first to acknowledge the problem that the Carnegie unit has created. In 1993, then Carnegie Foundation President Ernest L. Boyer said, "I urgently hope we can move beyond the old Carnegie units. I find it disturbing that students can complete the required courses, receive a high school diploma, and still fail to gain a more coherent view of knowledge and a more integrated, more authentic view of life. Inconsistencies in student learning leading to the need for remedial education has not gone unnoticed. There is growing demand for reform in K-12 and higher education from lawmakers, teachers, and administrators alike. Our student population has grown increasingly diverse, and teaching methods must be more flexible to meet their learning needs. Student performance needs to be more transparent by allowing closer scrutiny of their strengths and weaknesses. Schools and colleges need to be more accountable for student performance than a system measured in time spent in classroom allows, and making education more affordable and accessible by increasing flexibility and decreasing the need for remedial education." This part of my research came as a bit of a surprise to me. I did not plan to take this direction. I am, however, glad that it did. I was so accustomed to the credit hour system that I never stopped to question where it came from or why. I learned a lot about our educational system by simply going back to the beginning.